Meeting to order. Roll call.
Vice Chair Peterson,
Here.
Board Member Grosso,
Here.
Board Member Olet,
Here.
Board Member Palmieri,
Here.
and Board Member Vogel.
Here.
We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wrong way.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and Suse has asked me to have us all introduce ourselves. Maybe we did a few minutes when we were saying hello to each other, but how long you've lived in the area, why you want to serve on the board. I'll start, I guess, because I've got the microphone. Dina Peterson, we've been here full-time since the early 2000s. My husband and my son both went to Martin County High School. My husband and kids all went through elementary and middle school here as well. And my daughter went to South Fork, so we've been here since the early 2000s, but my husband's family's been here since the 40s, so this is home. And I'm glad to help where I can with the city of Stuart. Keep it a great place. I don't know, you want to?
Paul Grosso. I grew up here, went to Parker Elementary in Stuart. I went to Stuart Middle School, Martin County High School. I am a proud Gator. After that, and then I didn't think I would wind up back here, but I came back and had kids and run a business and all of that, and had some conversations with some people about doing something like this last year, and I'm to the point in life where I have the bandwidth to do that now, and spend the time. I had a background working for a public utility and doing engineering for them, so I thought this might be a good fit for me to start to be able to look at things.
Welcome. Caitlin?
My name is Caitlin. I have a teenage son at South Fork. He's 14. We've been in this area for 14 years, and city of Stuart proper 3 years. And I just care about decisions the city's making and want to be of service to families like me, and hope to have a nice place for my son to come back and raise his family too.
Thank you. Lance?
Lance Vogel. I've lived in the city of Stuart since 2011. Been vacationing here for a while before that. Fell in love with Stuart first time I came here, and have lived other places and watched development and growth happen uncontrollably, and just want to be involved and help make Stuart grow in the right way, basically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Christina Olet. I've lived here since 2005. And my one son graduated from Martin County High School. And I hope to help Stuart maintain its charm. That's why I'm hoping to serve.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We have the annual board reorganization. Are you going to handle that, Suse?
We'd need to do the oaths first.
Yeah,
and then
Oh,
we'll
the
do that.
oath. Okay. Advisory board member oath.
I'll be administering the oath to everybody. So does everybody have a copy of the oath?
Nope. We're about
All right.
to.
Thank you.
So we're going to orally do the oath, and then before you all leave tonight, you'll need to sign in front of Deputy Clerk here, Suse, and so she can sign off and notarize her signature. But if everybody would stand and raise their right hand and repeat after me, and you can use the written form in front of you. So I state your name.
Hi, Caitlin Palmieri.
Am qualified under the Constitution, laws of Florida, and the Code of Ordinances for the City of Stuart, Florida.
Am qualified under the Constitution, laws of Florida, and the Code of Ordinances for the City of Stuart, Florida.
To serve as a member of the local planning agency.
To serve as a member of the local planning agency.
And that I will well and faithfully perform the duties.
And that I will well and faithfully perform the duties.
Of an advisory board member on which I'm about to enter, so help me God.
Of an advisory board member on which I am about to enter, so help me God.
You can be seated. Thank you.
Now the annual board reorganization, selection of chair and vice chair.
All right, I can do this as well. So per our code of ordinances, usually at the first meeting of the year, you guys will select a chair and a vice chair. We'd prefer that you do it in 2 separate motions. I would recommend going down the line and seeing if anybody wants to volunteer to be either of those positions so that you're not nominating someone who doesn't want to do it. So that's what I would recommend
I
first.
guess my concern is our board members that have not been seated yet.
Right, well, at our next commission meeting, they will be, there are 2 members that are going to be voted on, but I don't think there's any guarantee that, so I would, and I don't know the outcome of that, so we have a quorum here today, and I think we need to, it's tradition, no matter what the board is, that we select one from the panel today as far as a chair and a vice chair.
Okay.
I mean, if you guys obviously have the opportunity to change that, it's down the future at some point. But we recently did this with the CRB board, and someone was nominated who didn't want to do it. So instead of making that person embarrassed, I would at least just go down the row and see if anybody wants to volunteer or does want to perform as a chair or a vice chair.
What are the duties of the vice chair?
Well, the vice chair just fills in, I guess, when
Yeah.
the chair is not here.
So the chair runs the meeting, and just like you're seeing here today, and he or she will control the meeting and who speaks. You'll see a light switch in front of you, and if you flip it over, you'll see the light goes on, and it'll go to the chair. And that's so if you want to be recognized. So you have to be recognized by the chair to speak. It is a little bit more complicated, and that's probably why it's better if someone who's been on the board for a while be a chair.
Yeah.
The vice chair is not going to chair a meeting unless the chair is out.
Well,
for some
I've
reason.
chaired a lot of meetings, but I have not been involved in this. So I would be willing to be vice chair, but not chair.
Okay, that's good. So that's an example of she's willing to do that. I would just go down the line to see, just so you're not, in the CRB, we had someone motioning someone that did not want to be chair, and then she rejected. So that's why I would recommend doing it that way before we do a motion. And once everybody has spoken, everybody but the chair could make a motion. And I motion to nominate such and such as the chair. We prefer that you split up the vice chair and chair and have 2 different motions. And once someone presents a motion on the floor, then you have to have a second from another member of the board. Once there's a motion and a second, the chair then states that we have a motion to nominate such and such and a second, and then we vote on it, basically. And majority of those present here today is how it's selected.
Okay.
That person-
Around your end down there.
Anybody, chair or vice chair, anybody have any interest?
Not being this new.
Are you willing to do it, Dina?
Lauren,
Are you willing to do it?
you seem like the likely candidate.
Well, I was the vice chair, so I've never led a meeting before. This is my first leading the meeting, which I think I already did one thing out of order, so. You
We're here
believe
to-
in me.
we're here to-
Thank you.
We're here to help you, and it's not, you may screw up here and there, but we'll correct you and put on the record. It happened with the CRB. The chair was not prepared to do
I'm hoping
it.
Lance was going to step in and do it. Sure, I would do it.
I nominate.
Well, let's go down and see if anybody else wants to do it. No,
Any-
okay, all
No,
right.
they passed.
So I guess at least we have one that is willing to be the chair and one that's willing to be the vice chair. So we'll need a motion from one of the other members. And
I'll make a motion for Dina to be chair.
so we'll need a second.
I second.
Okay. So
And
Chair
then all
Peterson,
in-
you'll need to say we have a motion. to
We have a
nominate.
motion and a second, and do we do all favor or a roll call?
All in favor.
All in favor?
Say aye.
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 Can you say any opposed?
Any opposed?
Seeing none?
Nay.
Are you?
No, I said no, I'm not
Okay.
opposed.
All right.
I'm not opposed. You're supposed to say no if you say any opposed.
Yeah, you got to verbally say yes or no or aye or no, so that there's a clear record for it.
Yes.
So now we need another motion.
Motion for, to elect Christina to vice chair.
Okay, and we need a second.
A second.
Okay, so we have a first motion and a second motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Seeing none?
None.
All right.
Okay. Oh, well, bye, Lance.
You can move me around all the time. you know that?
Be careful, he said the seat really leans
Oh,
back
thank
on you.
That way, if you're need to ever pass it down, it's just close enough to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
When everyone's here, you get kicked out again, back down.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
It's just, it's easier for me up here than sitting down there and having to go through the line.
I'm a president on many boards. It gets to be so easy.
But a lot of times,
Yeah,
there's something
no,
that doesn't show up, so I'll be up there. so.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we're done with that. Approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
And do I have to say all opposed?
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none,
Motion carries.
motion carries. Approval of the minutes? Do we have anybody who wants to approve the minutes from 11/13/2025?
Move to approve the minute.
And a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed, say none? Okay, all good? Okay, do we have any public comments, non-agenda related comments?
Chair, I have none.
You have none? Okay. Do we have any comments by board members? No? Okay. Today we have one action item. Now I should just read it for everybody.
I can do it. I typically do it.
Wonderful.
So ordinance number 2547-2026, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, amending section 8.07.07 of the city's land development code in compliance with recently enacted legislation, Senate Bill 954, providing for conflict, providing for codification, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes. So I'm going to handle this one as well. As far as giving an introduction and a background to this. One of your duties as the LPA, it's another acronym instead of saying the board, we use LPA as an acronym, so you'll probably hear that frequently. So one of your duties as a member of the board of the LPA is reviewing and holding a hearing in regards to text amendments to the land development code. You have other job duties, but this is something that you're probably not going to see as often. The most common thing you're going to probably see is a developer trying to do like a rezoning application or a variance or something to that effect. So what happened is effective July of last year, Senate Bill 954 was enacted and became effective last summer, and it required that the city have and adopt an ordinance and a procedure for certified recovery residents. And it amended certain statutes, and one of the statutes applied to the city having a request for reasonable accommodation. It required that the city have one. Well, the city already had one. So, and that's why we're amending it. So since the city already had one, I reviewed, because this was something that I had done, so I reviewed what the statute, this new statute and bill required and what we had. And there were some requirements that we needed to add to our code and update it, basically, because of this new law. And I'll go over some of those things in a minute. And while I was in there, I took the opportunity to clean up some things that needed to be cleaned up, that I saw that I thought needed to be spruced up a little bit. And I'll go through some of those as well. So this is something that we're required to do. And then what we're looking for is, once I go through this, is a motion for approval on a recommendation to the City Commission to approve this. And then it's going to go on to the City Commission. And when it's an ordinance, we have to have 2 readings, 2 separate public hearings on it. But with you guys, we only have to have 1 hearing. All right? So I want to go through, and I don't know if you guys looked at the agenda before you got here, but there is a red line copy attached to the agenda. And so I'll go through some of those changes and additions that I made. I mentioned that I cleaned up some stuff and I had to add some stuff required under this new bill. Some of the first changes I made is we didn't, whoever wrote the ordinance originally didn't actually cite the statutes. So there's the Fair Housing Amendments Act, and there's also the Americans with Disability Act. I assume most of you have heard of some of these laws. So I cited to the actual acts and gave the actual code citations. That's something we do as lawyers. We actually added, where the proper legal citation. We didn't have that in the policy or in our ordinance originally, and we had gone right to acronyms. So typically, when you're going to use an acronym, you want to add the statute that you're going to use as an acronym. Everybody knows what the ADA is, but we needed to identify what it was. So I did that in the opening paragraph. One of the things I noticed in the current code on this was it said if a person wanted to request a reasonable accommodation, they were to submit it to the city, but it didn't say to who. Since I've been here for a couple of years, they ended up submitting, we've had one or two, and they've submitted it to me. So I just cleaned it up to add the city attorney's office, basically. The statute had some extra stuff in here that we didn't have written in our code. We probably did it as a matter of practice, but I'm just adding it to the code. One of the things is when they submit a request for reasonable accommodation, and it's usually for certified recovery residents. I want to go back, and it's usually someone that's in active treatment for an addiction to alcohol or drugs. If they are in active use and consumption, they are not considered disabled, but if they are in active rehab, they are considered disabled under the Americans with Disability Act and the Fair Housing Act. So they're entitled, they're a protected class, they're entitled to be free of discrimination in our land development code. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So they can come to us and request a reasonable accommodation from our code so that they can live somewhere in the city. And so some of the Senate bill said that the city needs to date stamp an application when we receive it. It wasn't written in the code, but I know that the clerks, when we receive something up front, they usually do date stamp it, but I'm just adding that to our code because the statute requires it. I added some stuff in here on what to do when we receive medical information, because when someone has a disability, they have to prove to us they have a disability. It may be, and this is our ordinance for all disabilities, so it could be another type of disability that would have medical records. But even in an active rehab, there's going to be medical records that they would produce, and that would be confidential information. So I have put in there what do we do when we have confidential information? Because sometimes we can get public records requests, and we have to exempt this confidential information. So I applied some language in there on that. In addition, I put in some procedures. What happens if they submit an application and the city responds saying, hey, we need more information, and then they never respond? And a year goes by and they never respond. So we put in some deadlines. Hey, you got to respond within so many days. Otherwise, your application is now concluded or withdrawn. So I added some language on that. The statute says that a final written determination by the city on an application must be within 60 days. We had 30 days in our ordinance, so I'm just going to be consistent with the statute and put 60 days. I also I added an appeal process. We had it was a very simple that an appeal decision would be filed with the city within 30 days. I actually added a lot more information of what is entailed in appealing a decision. Typically, like I was saying, that the application would come to me, and I would do a written determination, or if I needed more information, I would ask for it or do a final written determination on whether or not their application meets the qualifications under our ordinance to have an accommodation be met. Whether I deny it, accept it, or need more information, those are the options. But if I do deny it, they can appeal it. And I ask that they submit the appeal to me, and then we also set it up at a magistrate hearing. So our magistrate is hired, and they hear our code enforcement stuff, and they sit where you all do, and people that have, when their code enforcement and stuff have hearings, they come in the dais and chambers here. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. And so the magistrate hears those issues, so we would add something like that to a magistrate hearing. The magistrate, he or she, meets once a month, and people come for code enforcement issues. in appeals like this. So there would be a public hearing that is open to the public and they can come. And then I also have an additional appeal. If they are unhappy with the magistrate's decision, then it could be appealed to the circuit court down the street here at Martin County Courthouse. Let's see here. Looking at some of these other things that I added. I looked at, this is not necessarily required, but the new Senate bill allows us to have like a revocation. And I put in some grounds like the city manager could revoke an application if they provided like false information. Or that we do give them a development order that they can live where they want to, and we usually have some conditions. So, and if they violate any of those conditions, let's say we're allowing them to have 10 cars, parking there, and they have 50 every day, that would be like a violation of a condition. We would give them an opportunity to correct or cure the problem and so forth. So I have a procedure in place on that. I also added a clause in here that was not there before, that you don't get a reasonable accommodation order and then it's indefinite. So I had in here, I added that it has to be renewed on an annual basis. That way it's not an indefinite issue and they still have to come back and say, hey, I'm still disabled. Like someone who's in rehab and gets, out of rehab, that they're not going to be in rehab forever. Does that make sense? So depending on the situation and the housing or whatever, how it's set up, they're going to have to come back to us and renew every year. There's many different situations. You could have a detox facility, medical treatment, and people living there. You could have like a condo with people living in. There's a lot of variations as what could happen under this particular law. Last but not least, we waive any fee for anybody who's covered under the law that applies for a reasonable accommodation. And we also put in there that we're not responsible for their attorney's fees and we don't provide them with a lawyer. They have the option of having a lawyer and they're just going to have to pay out of their own pockets to have a lawyer to represent them through the procedure. So that's kind of like a summary of the stuff that I added to it. We're looking for a motion today for approval of the recommendations for the text amendments to section 8.0707. And we'd like to get a motion and obviously a second and an approval to give to the board at the next meeting, to the city commission board.
And is now a time to see if there was any comments from the public or any
Well,
comments from the
so what we would need to do is, the best thing would be, there would have to be a motion for approval,
Okay.
and then a second, and then you say there's been a motion and a second on approval of the text amendments. Do I have any public comment on this issue?
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the additional
Text amendments.
text amendments. Yes.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any public comments on this motion?
Chair, I have none.
You can come up and talk and fill out a form when you're done, if you want to come forward. If you come to the podium and state your name, please.
My name is Joseph Anjuli. I grew up in this town starting in 1998. After Hurricane Floyd, we moved here. So I went through something similar process in West Palm Beach. I just implore you guys to make sure that the units are kept clean, because sometimes they will dirty up the units, waste management. They have to have a good way of getting trash in and out of the building. Otherwise, disease will spread and infestations will start. So just
Okay.
make sure that they have good waste management in these buildings, because sometimes they aren't conscientious of that or used to that where they're from, where they're coming from. And that's
Okay.
all
Thank
for
you.
now.
If you can get a green card to fill out. Blue, sorry.
Okay, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay. I guess some of, like the annual renewal, the deadlines, the appeals process, is that part of the new statute that we were required to add, or is that something you're adding to just codify what we're already doing?
We're not already doing it. I'm asking to update it. The timelines and so forth, I'm adding. That's not required by the new legislation.
Okay.
And that's basically my impression. I've had to deal with one of these so far. And when I went through the process, I learned, I wish we had this, I wish we had that. But at the time, it wasn't worth going through the whole process of amending the text. I was just going to do it. But since this new legislation is requiring us to update some of our code, I'm throwing it in there. Just like putting in the Americans with Disability Act, I wouldn't have done that just to do it. But since we're required to make some upgrades, I'm adding into the process or the procedure.
Okay, so what was actually required by the statute that we're not doing?
So in section C, 2C, address of property and parcel identification number. The statute requires that they're required to give us both the address of the property and the parcel identification number. We only had the address. We didn't have
Okay.
parcel identification number. Number C3, upon receipt, the city shall date stamp the written request for accommodation.
right.
We were doing that, but the statute requires we have it in our code, so I'm adding that. The 30 and 60 days difference as far as providing a final written determination, the statute requires 60 days, so I've changed that. The revocation of an approved reasonable accommodation, the statute didn't mandate it, but it allowed for it. We didn't have it.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be best to put it in there because one of the issues, like I was saying, it's kind of unlimited, that if they got an order, when does it expire, kind of thing. So, and if they did provide false information, there would be grounds to revoke this. It's in essence a development order. They're going to bypass, if someone wants to make a request for a reasonable accommodation, they're bypassing the public hearing process, and it has to be approved administratively. So I would do my best to present like a development order, and like the gentleman who stood up and spoke, to be clean. That would be, we would put some language in the development order. It would be like a traditional development order, like on a planned unit development. All that stuff would be addressed in a development order. So by doing a request for reasonable accommodation, they're bypassing the whole public hearing process, and it's being approved administratively, if that makes sense. So there would be conditions in the development order, just like a regular development order. It just would never be it would never be a public hearing where the commission would vote on it.
Okay. Anybody?
I had a question. The revocation provision stipulates misleading information on the application. I'm wondering, looking at the state statute, it talked about the certification process for recovery homes.
That's a separate, that doesn't, so the Senate Bill 954 talked about request for reasonable accommodations, and then what you're talking about is a different statute that deals with what is a certified recovery residence. That doesn't apply to us.
I understand. What I wanted to ask was if the state one talked about how if to be certified, there were things that had to be met, and they had to have a certain person that was heading it up, and they had to be certified, and if they were in violation of something, they would be almost like on probation, the way the language looked to me. So I wonder if that was happening with such a place, if it would be a grounds for the city to revoke the application if their certification was in question.
Well, if you look at the next, so under H1, lowercase Roman numeral 3, any applicable state or federal certification has expired, has been revoked, or the applicant has failed to maintain the certification or licensure as required under Chapter 397 Florida statutes. So I think that proposed language is covering your concern.
It is. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Any questions, concerns? So do we go for, and do we need a roll call or just an?
No, we need to do a roll call on it because it's an ordinance, so.
Okay. All right, so we have a second, first and a second. So Suse, do you want to do the roll call?
Absolutely. Chair Peterson,
Yes.
Board Member Vogel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Olet,
Yes.
Board Member Grosso,
Yes.
and Board Member Palmieri.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do we have a staff update? Anything?
The development staff has not appeared. They didn't have anything today, so.
Okay, so meeting adjourned?
No, we have to do a motion, I think, don't we?
Some people do, but if you want to do a motion to adjourn, that's fine. But I think you can just adjourn because the agenda says we're done, so.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.